Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Ox Talks. It's Saturday, March 23rd, 2024. Hope you're having a productive day so far today. Thought I would just jump on real quickly and say hello, touch base, give you some input about what I'm seeing happening in the last 24 hours with the news cycle. Some important information I wanted to share with you today. I will start out by saying thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you're not subscribed, please do so. The channel is growing. We're just getting started, and I really appreciate everyone's support. Super appreciate everyone's comments and the dialogue that I'm seeing in the comments. Keep exchanging information with one another. Keep educating one another. This is a learning process for everybody. No one has all the answers. We all learn from each other. It is a community, and let's keep working on this, keep building it. Please share these videos with family, friends, coworkers, colleagues, and let's keep getting the word out about what's happening in this economy, folks, okay? So again, thank you. Appreciate you being here. So last night, just after midnight, evidently the U.S. Congress or Senate passed a $1.2 trillion spending package to once again avert a government shutdown. No surprise to anybody. I'm not going to delve into that. It is pathetic. From what I read, it is filled with a bunch of pork and programs that nobody needs, nobody cares about, but it satisfies all these people's constituents. Look, it's sad. We are going to become if we're not already there, we're going to quickly become a banana republic. And I'll share an article here with you from the Daily Huddle that I saw come out just, I think it was yesterday afternoon. And it says 167 I think billion dollars added to the U.S. national debt in 20 days. As Citadel CEO warns, government spending at borderline insanity. The CEO of a $60 billion hedge fund says Americans should be alarmed about the country's rapidly expanding debt. New numbers from the Treasury Department. The national debt climbed from $34.393 trillion on March 1st to $34.5611 trillion on March 20th, a rise of $167.911 billion in just 20 days. $167.911 billion in 20 days. At this point, the rapid pace of the country's debt accumulation poses a major risk to America's fiscal future, according to Citadel CEO Ken Griffin. This guy's a billionaire. In a new CNBC interview at the International Futures Industry Conference in Florida, Griffin says the lack of daily dialogue about growing national debt is allowing the government to borrow at a rate that's irrational and, he says, dangerous. Griffin says no outside entity can or will save the United States from a debt crisis. I think the biggest issue that's not priced in the markets right now is the sovereign risk of U.S. credit. Says it's not AAA anymore. He says, I wish it was AAA. I think it's just not part of the day in and day out dialogue, and that allows Washington to continue to spend at levels that are borderline insanity at this point in the economic cycle. And look, this is before this article came out before the new $1.2 trillion spending package that was just passed after midnight today. We're talking about a budget next year, he says, of $7 trillion. Spending is up almost 20% in 2 years. This is just out of control. And unfortunately, when your sovereign markets start to put the hammer down in terms of discipline, that could be pretty brutal. There's no country that's going to bail America out, he says. We're going to have to right our own ship. There's no IMF for the United States of America. As you all know, we have the printing press right now. We enjoy, for now, the reserve currency. Look, on this news, the dollar in the last week continued to strengthen. How is that actually possible? How is the USD, the US dollar index, I know it's a basket, but how is it strengthening on the back of the debt that this nation continues to accrue? And we know, look, consumers are the same. The average consumer is indebted to their eyeballs. Remember the guy on the commercial driving the lawnmower and with a big smile on his face, and then the subtitle was, "I'm indebted up to my eyeballs." I used to chuckle at that commercial. It's so true. Look, everyone is buying stuff they can't afford, they don't need, and their credit cards are maxed out, their home equity lines are maxed out. And so, the consumers are following the same footsteps as the United States government. This has to change course. It's going to be forced to change course. Let me share another article with you I saw out of, this is Eurasia News and Analysis. I have no idea about that source, but I'm going to read it to you. It says, U.S. money supply, I've covered this before on the channel. U.S. money supply, it says, fell for the 15th month in a row as full-time jobs disappear. We know full-time jobs are simply not being created. Don't listen to the mainstream media that the job market is strong. We know what's happening, folks, under the surface with the employers. They're slashing jobs, they're cutting workforces, they're pulling back, and this is just the beginning. It says money supply growth fell again in January, remaining deep in negative territory after turning negative in November 2022. For the first time, listen to this, in 28 years. January's drop continues a steep downward trend from the unprecedented highs during much of the past 3 years. Since April 2021, it says money supply growth has slowed quickly, and since late 2022, we've been seeing the money supply repeatedly contract year over year. The last time the year over year change in the money supply slipped into negative territory was November of 1994. So we're going back 20 years. 1994, 14, 24, going back we're going by 30 years, guys, since the money supply has contracted this much. At that time, negative growth continued for 15 months, finally turning positive again in January of 1996. Money supply growth has now been negative for 15 months, it says, in a row. During January 2024, the downturn continued as year-over-year growth in the money supply was at a negative 6.13%. That's up slightly from December's rate of decline, which was negative 7.40%, and was below January 2023's rate of decline of negative 5.09%. With negative growth now lasting more than a year, it says, and coming in below negative 5% for the past 13 months. Money supply contraction is the largest we've seen since the Great Depression. Prior to this year, at no other point for at least 60 years has the money supply fallen by more than 6% year over year in any month. Those are incredible statistics, and we're going back to the Great Depression, not the Great Financial Crisis, 1929. It says money supply growth can often be a helpful measure of economic activity and an indicator of coming recessions. During periods of economic boom, money supply tends to grow quickly as commercial banks make more loans. Recessions, on the other hand, tend to be predicted by slowing rates of money supply growth. The fact that money supply is shrinking at all is remarkable, it says, because the money supply in modern times almost never gets smaller. The money supply has now fallen by approximately $2.8 trillion, or 13% since its peak in April of 2022. In spite of this, it says, we continue to hear calls, no surprise here, from Wall Street and Washington demanding more easy money policies from the Fed. The regime, it says, is so addicted to easy access to newly created dollars that a 20% CPI surge and an extra $3 to $6 trillion sloshing around the economy over just the last 4 years still isn't enough. That is It's not enough to meet the needs of Washington spenders or to keep interest rates low enough for the zombie companies now dominating the economic landscape. And I thought this was an important article to share with you on the backdrop of this morning's news of the new spending package that was just released. So, guys, what's happening here? They're destroying your dollar, and I hope that you will take this to heart. Start acquiring real assets. Start putting things in your portfolio that will not be devalued by this continued devaluation of the currency. Right now, we're seeing a dollar uptick. Look, that's not going to last. The final article I want to share with you talks about the stock market. And I'm not necessarily anti-stock market. I have a lot of friends in the stock market personally. I'm not chasing that. I understand there's money to be made in the stock market if you're willing to take the risk and take the gamble. But it's just not my forte. Something I don't know. I don't have the time to keep up with it and pay attention to it. Is there yield to be made there? Yes. Is everyone reaching for yield? Yes. But also, I think the NASDAQ is propped up by the top 7 companies right now. So, if some of those pillars fall, watch out below. There's a huge air pocket and a major fall could occur. This article is out of the Business Market Insider, and this was from yesterday afternoon. And it says stock valuations mirror the extremes of 1929. Again, we're hearkening back to the Great Depression to compare metrics with the stock market. You just heard about comparing the reduction of the money supply going back to, again, 1929. Folks, this is scary times. Please pay attention to this. It says stock market valuations mirror the extremes of 1929, and the market is at risk of a steep crash, legendary investor John Hussman says. And the article goes on to state, stock valuations look as extreme as they were in 1929 and 2021 before markets tanked. And investors are at risk, he says, of experiencing a steep crash, according to this John Hussman. The legendary investor who called the 2000 and the 2008 market crashes cast another warning for the stocks this week as investors sent the market to all-time highs on the back of the Fed's latest policy update that reiterated the outlook for rate cuts in 2024. Again, all the markets are hoping on, and its hopium is more cheap money. And as long as that's forthcoming, guys, the markets, I told you last few days ago, the markets probably will continue to go up. So we'll see what happens with that. But the enthusiasm, it says, is putting the market in a precarious position similar to what was seen prior to the 1929 crash or the market peak in 2021 ahead of the following year's bear market. Says his investment firm's most reliable measure, which is the ratio of non-financial market capitalization, to gross value added, is sitting at its highest level since the 1929 stock market peak, right before the market crashed and sent the Dow plummeting. How much do you think? 89% peak to trough. So are you folks prepared and willing and able to lose 89% of your portfolio? If you are, fine, keep gambling. If your portfolio is in your 401k and that's your retirement, you should consider, again, not financial advice. I'm just reading the article here, but you need to think about whether you are properly hedged and do your research about what appropriate hedges you can put in place to maybe guard against that. It's in my opinion, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. Quote, my impression is that investors are presently enjoying the double top, it says, of the most extreme speculative bubble in U.S. financial history, Hussman wrote. So that is important, I think. I'm not beating up on stock market people. I'm not beating up on any asset class that you all think is important for your personal situation. Do your homework. But look at. Let's finish up by talking about Russia. Putin is out today saying that yesterday I updated you guys on this, that ISIS claimed responsibility for the attack in Russia. Putin's out today saying no, it is tied back to Ukraine. The reality is if it is tied back to Ukraine, this thing is just getting started. We know that the United States has weapons there. We provide ammunition. We're providing support. I'm not weighing into that situation politically. I'm just saying we know that's the case. And I see a major escalation potentially happening here. And could this affect all of us? I mean, it certainly could. So I hope you guys are paying attention to that and keeping watch, because we are on the precipice of something potentially very, very bad. This was an attack on Russian soil. There's a couple hundred people or so, maybe a little less than that, that have been were killed in yesterday's attack. And this will not go, let's say, unattended by Russia and by Putin. We'll have to see how this continues to unfold. But the narrative that, of course, the United States is saying, well, it's ISIS, and Russian government saying, well, maybe not. Let's wait and see what's going on here. We're going to do further investigation. So please pay attention. Please be diligent. I did about a 90-minute workout this morning. Normally I don't do Saturday workouts. I shifted my workout to today, taking tomorrow off. Hope all of you will have a productive day today. Get your workout in, get some exercise, do some steps. Don't get lazy on the weekend. Please be, head on a swivel, be diligent. We need to stay the course. I do see some comments in video from yesterday, some sad comments about people's situations. Look, we can only do what we can do. We're not all in the same situation economically, with the job situation. I understand that. I'm not professing that we're all in the same position, but I'm just trying to come out here and tell you what's important, share some news with you, tell you what I'm doing. Everyone from their own perspective, you just do what you can. Work on your fitness. Work on stacking a few cans, every week of extra food into your pantry. When you go to the store, pick up some extra canned goods. Pick up some extra dry goods that you can have. Pick up some extra bottles of water. It's not that much more of an expenditure. But I'm not out here preaching to anybody. We're all, we're going to go through this situation together. We're all going to experience the same, whatever unfolds, we're going to go through it. Everyone's going to have a different impact to them. But look, we have to continue to prepare, continue to work on our supplies, on our security first and foremost. If you can't protect what you have, then what are you going to do? What are you going to do if someone kicks down your door? How are you going to take care of your family? Because when hordes start coming into your neighborhood and gangs, which we're all going to probably experience that in the coming future. When, I don't know. But I hope that all of you are thinking that through. If you're naive enough to think that you can sit in your house, nothing bad's going to happen, I would beg to differ. So please take heed of these warnings. It's not doom and gloom. I'm just reading some of the news to you. Economically, we are not as strong as the stock market cheerleaders would expect you or want you to believe, and all of the government economists. So please keep that in mind. I'm sure all of you know that. You're experiencing every day the struggle. With that being said, I'll leave it there. Went a little bit long today. Please have a great Saturday, and I'll try to touch base tomorrow with all of you. See you soon. Bye.